he would still do it.
No, he would do it.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I watch him on YouTube every day with his, now his wife.
Yeah.
And they do their daily breakdown. And it actually is one of the key ways that I get my business news.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that and Yahoo Finance has a very good YouTube channel. So I kind of, peek in there every once in a while too. But yeah, it's amazing how these people are now starting to do like daily news, and they're building these cult followings of people who are like, oh, I don't have to read everything and know everything. I just can pop in and see what's happening and say, okay.
That's it. 20 minutes or less, I'm out of here.
Yes, exactly. So I thought about doing something like that, but my life is too much right now. There is no way. No way. So, well, we're going to get started, everybody. So welcome to Wednesday. If it's Wednesday, it is Blockchain Day, and we want to welcome you to Blockchain Chat tonight. So here at Black Blockchain Consultants, we focus on the business of blockchain. That means blockchain jobs, starting blockchain-based businesses, and investing in the blockchain, whether you're investing time or money into a project, and ultimately gaining wealth from this $3.1 trillion industry. I do want to say that last night, Eric did a great job, along with Dr. Keisha, of interviewing one of the OGs of Black wealth, Black economics. I don't know if anyone saw the Building Black Wealth interview with Dr. George Fraser, author of Success Runs in Our Race, just a real OG. And Eric, first of all, great question that you and Dr. Keisha asked about what we should be looking at and investing in. And what was Dr. George Fraser's response?
One of those was Ethereum.
Yes.
He talked about blockchain. He talked about cryptocurrency. He talked let me just say something. I am incredibly, I was very honored to speak with Dr. Fraser. And I have always just been impressed with him. From that interview, I was even more impressed with him, of just being just a lifelong learner. Everything that he was talking about, he was so on top of it that I was like, oh my goodness, man. He talked about from electric cars to all of the different industries and whatever. He was just amazing. And it just even him bringing up and talking about Ethereum. And I love the fact that he said, you know what, I should own Bitcoin at $7.
He said that. I was going to say that.
Yeah, it was just fantastic.
But he said, I let somebody talk me out of it. I'm not letting them talk me out of Ethereum. I thought that was so funny. So I listen to a lot of replays while I'm doing my daily walk, my daily power walk. And that was what I was listening to this morning. And I just laughed. I actually stopped in my tracks and got a good laugh out of that one.
Yeah,
so,
hilarious.
Yes. So the other things that he talked about also was just blockchain as an industry overall. And again, you have this guy, like Eric is saying, is a lifelong learner. He talked about robotics. He talked about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And he also talked about, oh gosh, let me see if I can, he said with robotics, don't just think about building the robots, think about repairing the robots. And I thought that was an interesting comment from him. And I asked myself, what does that mean with us in BBC? We've been talking about this for the past 3 years anyway. So, thinking not just about how do we code blockchain, but all of the other things we've been talking about for the past few years. How do we consult with it, and how do we do customer service, blockchain customer service, and all of these other things that we've been talking about, user experience testing and all of that. So I do want to open it up to Tawana and Talisha to chime in as well with regards to that conversation.
Yeah, I think, first of all, he was exceptional. I mean, I love that he was so dynamic. Everything we thought he was going to be, right? And when he said Ethereum, I was like, oh, we're going to have a ball with that one. And of course, I thought, let's invite him to Black Blockchain Consultants, because that's what I always say, right? So Sheree, you gotta send them an invite. Let them know what we're doing here. But when you talk about, the robotics and just that comment about be the one that repairs it, I think about how we've talked about how we take what we know, right, and translate that to in blockchain space. But think about a mechanic, right? Think about a mechanic translating what their skill sets are from a mechanical technology standpoint, because from mechanics these days, everything is still technology, right? When you think about all the cars and all that, it's not just widgets anymore. Now it's also the tech stuff. Think about them transitioning into a robotic space, and knowing that that's possible. So I love that Dr. Frazier allowed you to see yourself in something else. Like that was just awesome for me. It really, really was.
Yeah.
And I must say that your makeup today is on point. Love it. I don't know if you've gone for, a photo shoot or what, but you looking good today, girl.
You do.
Go ahead, Talisha.
I would say the echo in the same aspect is the continuation. So, Dr. Frazier went through the continuum. So he doesn't just stop. He kind of always ties things back, as you notice. He referenced one point, but then he took you to the next step. So there was never a point where I was like, okay, well, that's gone. Now you have to do so that. He was like, well, you can transition. You can make that, this is where this fits in now. So he got, he sees things from that, not that one parallel purpose, but now from a multifaceted correspondence to what life is. Like, he's like, you're not losing anything. At one point, he's like, you have these transferable skills. And, Dr. Keisha always talks about that too, with regard to where do things fit, and the non-fear of technology. There was not a like, oh, it's going to take over, or oh, it's going to ruin your job. He didn't make any reference to that. He was just so involved and so dynamic and very emphatic about this is where you need to be. Like, there was actually, that fanfare of, oh, what's coming next, instead of like, oh, be very wary, be scared, there was none of that. And I think our community sometimes has that fear of everything instead of just fear everything that's coming. He was very much like, try it, see what happens, be all in it, touch it, feel it, smell it, like that true car salesman thing. And you're like, yeah, I can. You feel empowered by his just enthusiasm. And I think that really registered, I think, for me, and just to see it come from him, knowing that this is a gentleman who, like I said, has seen it all, has seen history in different aspects of his life. And then he can still be so enthusiastic and impassioned about what's to come. That was very much profound and moving.
Yeah, I agree. I also thought it was interesting in the beginning of his introduction, where he talked about how he focused on the niche of 65 and older, right? He was talking about how he started, doing car detailing for that demographic, and house cleaning for that demographic. And one of the things that we always talk about here is picking a niche, picking a major, right? And the fact that he did that with regards to, he had a population that he served with a very simple business, we need to also think about that as well, and remember that, of course, everyone's here, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but always thinking about picking a niche, because he talked about his success and he wasn't afraid to tell anyone 64 and under, sorry, I don't serve you. And because of that, he was super successful. So even with us, thinking about what we're choosing as our niches, it's okay to say, no, I'm not going to serve this demographic over here. I'm going to do this. And a lot of times you end up doing better with hyper focus. So I thought that was interesting as well. So
can I just add one last thing he did say?
Sure, of course.
The first thing he mentioned was esports.
Yes.
And I was even like, and I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that. Like, I was like, wow.
He really is on the front end of the trends. I thought that was
in tune with it all. Yeah.
Yes, because esports is going to be huge. When he said that, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
So I invested in a company. I don't know how well it's going to do within esports, but I recognize that esports itself is big. So definitely. So for everybody who is here tonight, I did put the YouTube link in the chat. So that way, if you need to go and listen to that replay, you know, it was definitely worth it. And the great thing with YouTube is you can speed up the audio as well. That's what I do. So you can listen to something that's 45 minutes in 25 and like, okay, I got it. So, alrighty then. So what I wanted to do tonight, since we had a little bit of the breaking news, I wanted to have us go over that because I will admit, I knew about it, but I wasn't really aware. And now it got me thinking, I need to reserve my name. Just like, you know, if you have, especially if you have a common name, and there are a couple of people in here that have common names, you may want to think about reserving your name early, just like people did back, you know, in the day with URLs. And also this is telling me, and I'm interested in hearing what the other panelists say, this is telling me that we're a step close to adoption, mass adoption. Exactly. We're definitely a step closer to mass adoption with this. So what I'm going to do is just pull up my screen here and really quickly read this article to let people know that Coinbase has added support for crypto web domains. And what does this mean? So in brief, this is according to this website here. Coinbase has added support for .crypto domains. These are web domains that cannot be shut down. Well, theoretically, is what they say later on in the article. And they are very similar to domains minted by the Ethereum name system. So what's happening here? Coinbase is partnered with Unstoppable Domains, which is a decentralized domain registrar that mints uncensorable .crypto web domains. These domain names are now supported by Coinbase's wallet. Within the Coinbase wallet, users can buy and sell .crypto domains as well as pay other users. That means that instead of sending a payment to a user with a long cryptographic address, Coinbase wallet lets you send payments to each other. For example, decrypt.crypto or Cherie.crypto, right? Okay, so I hope everyone's understanding what's happening here. And I'm going to definitely tonight or tomorrow save mine just to have it. On top of that, .crypto domain names allow you to host decentralized websites. So ICANN, which runs the centralized web, has the power to shut down domain names whenever it wants, and authorities can force regular websites offline. Not so far for .crypto domains, which live on the Ethereum blockchain and can be only controlled by those who hold the private keys. So these are human readable crypto addresses and blockchain-based web domains, which are not new. However, it is new with the fact that Coinbase is now supporting them. So according to this, as of late July, there were 21,000 people who bought their crypto domains, including several Fortune 500 companies. I'm going to open this up. I don't know if you still need that up or not. I'm going to open this up to my panel and ask you, what do you think?
Well, that last sentence says it all, right? That the Fortune 500 companies have already reserved theirs. That's very telling.
Yeah. Well, they said several. So I
right,
think that a lot of them are sleeping on it. And I think that people are going to start squatting Fortune 500 domain names, and those Fortune 500 companies are going to have to buy them out.
To buy it.
That I'm not telling y'all to do that. I'm just saying
that's a business.
It's a huge business. Mm-hmm. Or also people will squat like basic domain names like I love Jesus.crypto or something like it. Was I look, that's the first thing that came to my head. but yes, but people will do that, you know. So yes. Go ahead, sorry, Talisha. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say this is a repeat of history. If you do not remember when we used to have to type in, even for emails, you had a horrible alphanumeric address that no one could remember. And they're like, oh, let me copy, and I can't remember what it is. We've been here, done that, bought the postcard, got the t-shirt, we've done it all. Yes. So if you don't remember that time, if you're just too young to remember, I am not, I remember very clearly. Because I had to make those domain names. So yeah, that was 50 get you. But I remember tagging them out, making the tags, because they had to have incremental tags to go along with it. And we had people buying McDonald's and, you know, all those things. Because I was like, oh, who would want McDonald's? McDonald's paid $15,000 for McDonald's.com. Keep that.
Wow.
Yes, because somebody had it, some gentleman had it, and we just had a repeat of this with the Washington Redskins. They want to change their name.
Right.
And there's a gentleman that has that domain name that they want to switch to, and he's not giving it up. So this is what we see. It's like every moment that name becomes very clear. Like that, I have every registered name of Talisha Shine. I have every email of Talisha Shine. I have every iteration of my name because it was that early in the stage. So you can find me in any @Gmail, Hotmail, AL. I got it because it was me. And so that's what happens in perpetuity. And this is just the next step. And that shows you that mass adoption is coming. Because the minute I have something that's recognizable, that's very viable, it's not a horrible alphanumeric kind of, oh, let me type in a private key and then this, oh, what happens? And then we're moving into, that's where now security can come into play. Because once I have something that's needed to be masked, because that private key is still there. You're not replacing that key. You're masking it with another address. So now we have security protocols that are needed to come into place. So now we have a little bit of that customer experience. Just because now I can reach you, I know that I sent this money to so-and-so.crypto. I now have a little bit of way to say, oh, we can massage that a little bit, or going back. And so once we have that public key that way, we're also going to see something happen in the private key domain as well. So keep that, just kind of look 2 steps ahead of what's going to happen.
That makes sense.
And I think these conversations are so important because I just literally sat here and wrote, these are just ideas. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but my name, my kids' names, if you have kids, your church's name, if you are deep into your church, your association, if you're a Delta, if you're a Kappa, you know, I'm just saying, like Talisha said, we have seen this before. And
the e-commerce site, I'm telling you, all the e-commerce, you have a shop right now. I don't care if you don't even know what it is. You need to reserve if you have a little Etsy store and your little thing is dot something. Yep. Now it's time to get .crypto on your
LLC, right. Your LLC, your corporation, you know,
e-commerce site is going to be really, really changed over very quickly as soon as this happens. And again, remember, you can mask these. These are like, again, once, you know, we type in things all the time and it redirects you somewhere. Keep these things in mind when you're using that. So it's coming. So just know that it's coming.
Wow, yeah, Daniel he already has Dan coin. Okay.
All right, cool.
All right, Daniel.
I love it.
Yes, because, you know, you're absolutely right. That's how people are. Now, it took me forever to say SherieWarwick.com. And fortunately, I have a very, very uncommon name. So I was able to grab it by the time I was like, yeah, maybe I should, you know, grab this. But yeah, especially if you have a common name, a common spelling, you know, there also, I remember years ago that Tom Joyner had to pay an exorbitant amount for his domain, you know, so people are going to start snatching up celebrity domains and all of that as well. And the fact, don't forget that Coinbase is going public. Coinbase is probably going to be the most influential company in this blockchain and crypto space. So anything that they're doing is going to have a ripple effect, you know? And I think that, again, that's part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation tonight. I think of all the things we've talked about over the past several months, this is going to be the most practical thing practical, assignment that we can give you is figure out what names you need to save. And I don't even know what the cost is, but whatever it is, I would consider just snagging them.
And it's probably cheaper now than it
Yes.
will be.
Yes.
Oh man.
Because right
Yeah.
now they're saying late July, there was 21,000. That means it's very, very new. So Khadijah's
Okay,
saying it's
so
$40. That's worth it. It's worth it. Think about your kids, because now people are, before they even give birth, they try to go and save the domain name. There are people that are doing that. They're trying to save the domain name, and some people are changing their kids' names based on the domain name that's available. I heard it from a friend.
Practical example. My daughter is a gamer. That is literally her job. She has a first job. She streams on Twitch.
Yeah.
And as a protocol aspect for it, there is a way that she gets paid. She's an affiliate, so she gets paid. I've already registered her Twitch name in various places. So she has her .com, she has a .net, she has a .tech, and she has now one of these. So that's where it's just for her. And again, she doesn't have a very common name, but at the same time, it's something that she uses. She uses, and she's identified across the web. So when you also think about your digital footprint, how do people know you? How do people, because again, sometimes my business name was truly who people thought I was. So when I had my business, they were like, ScopeScribe. So I had to reserve ScopeScribe on everything because that's how they didn't even know my name as Talisha Shine. Mm-hmm. That's another consideration. If you're known by something or what you do, your company, something that really is not associated with you, but that's how people identify you, or that's your digital footprint, that's something that you need to reserve.
Yeah, Daniel is saying he did the same thing. Daniel's also saying he got his domain for $19. So
nice. So should we pull up? So show us where we go to reserve.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look at that.
What's your article say?
I didn't look that far.
We know what we are doing tonight.
I just read the article. Let me tell you, I just read the article 10 minutes before we popped on the live. That's why I was like, yes.
Daniel, where'd you go? Let's go.
Yeah, Daniel, if you're able to put the URL in for everybody, we'd appreciate it. I was just like, oh, but this is good. And this is too good for us too. I mean, this is, what we do here with real breaking news. So, okay. So does anyone else have anything else to unstoppabledomains.com? So for everybody on Facebook, it's unstoppabledomains.com. Thank you, Tanji. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
No, I just, that's a good point that you bring about Coinbase, because they are pretty much positioning themselves to pretty much be like the Amazon of crypto, blockchain, where they, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Like their UX is so smooth, it's so seamless, it's so easy. And to me, that kind of integration, they will look to push that out and expand that further and further into all of the other product offerings, that happens. But yeah, like right now, they're probably one of the best when it comes to fiat on-ramps that we have in the space. So, let's see. Let's see.
Yeah. The other thing I wrote on my list here was about interoperability. So we know that Coinbase is first in this. However, they won't be the only ones either. So there'll be other exchanges that do it. There'll be other ways for people to most likely be able to swap coins, as well in the future. So this is just the entry point for a lot of people. And we've been saying for a while that, I've been saying for a while, I'll hang this one around my neck, that when people get a use case that they can see and participate in is when you'll see a mass of people coming through. So in my opinion, this makes it easier for people, instead of having a long private key, to say, blockchain.crypto, send whatever, you can send a whole Bitcoin there if you want to. Oh, sorry, tomorrow after we reserved.
Right. Right.
but yeah, so yes, I think that that's going to be one of the key factors within crypto and blockchain acceptance.
I
So
agree.
anything else before we move on to retail? Okay. Here we go. So this is just a basic article here that I thought was interesting, talking about the apparel industry who's putting blockchain to the test to solve a persistent challenge. So there is a study involving blockchain, radio frequency identification, or RFID, and global data standards that provided a glimpse into the potentially remarkable capabilities of emerging technology to help solve supply chain challenges. Prior to the coronavirus, Auburn University RFID Labs, GS1US, and several leading retail companies launched the Chain Integration Project, or CHIP. The groundbreaking proof of concept demonstrated the effectiveness of using blockchain in combination with RFID to gather serialized product information. 3 brands, including Nike, PVH Corp, and Herman K, as well as 2 retailers, Kohl's and Macy's, contributed live data to the project. CHIP represented a small but important step in helping to solve supply chain challenges that have plagued the industry for decades. So CHIP participants named claims and chargebacks as one of the costliest problems for brands and retailers, costing them roughly 1% of total retail sales. So just giving everybody some perspective here, 1% of global sales is about $250 billion. So this one problem within the retail industry is $250 billion, okay? And what they're saying here is that claims and chargebacks are one of the costliest problems for brands and retailers. So chargebacks is basically asking for refunds, basically. Basically is what a chargeback is.
And then is a claim, Cherie, I didn't get that package?
They're saying here, I guess so, because they're saying here claims are often settled in the absence of sufficient shipment information on both brand and retailer sides. So I'm guessing that both of these are some form of, yeah, I didn't get it, or the inventory. So one of the things that they were saying within this article is with the RFID, they're doing serialized we call it numbers on each individual product. So let's say you have products 1 through 10 and you say, I only got 9. The blockchain is able to really verify that you got 1 through 10. So you can't scam the system. At least that's what I was reading. Talisha can let me know if there's something different. You may know a little bit more about this industry than I do, Talisha, but that's kind of what I was reading in this article here, which I thought was very interesting, because then that can also apply to other industries as well. So, and I also want to say that this issue is not just with like individuals buying products. This is also with stuff going from the brand to the retailer. Like that's where the huge slippage is happening, from brand to retailer and all the stuff in the warehouses and things like that. So, so they're saying here, companies pursuing blockchain should have globally unique product identification in place, not proprietary identification numbers, as well as a uniform way to capture how the product changes hands through the supply chain, such as RFID. While the collection of serialized data has grown in recent years, the overall benefit of item-level visibility is hindered when data isn't shared between trading partners. Doing so can help complete the visibility cycle, improve forecasting, and lead to a more transparent and real-time supply chain. CHIP was also an important test for blockchain as it could not only spur more data sharing, but it could also cast a spotlight on the importance of creating a standards-based foundation to make that achievable. According to the research, the automation of serialized product data exchange using blockchain can potentially eliminate manual labor associated with legacy systems, increasing the productivity and efficiency of the retail supply chain. Legacy systems also typically don't allow for item-level visibility. So trading partners end up forfeiting much of the granular product data enabled by serialization. This could mean fewer item substitutions, more certainty around what's being shipped and when, and fewer discrepancies downstream. So while the findings showed blockchain was viable, the participants were only successful in sharing data when they used blockchain and RFID in combination with GS1 standards such as EPCIS. Through further exploration, the team hopes to continue to evaluate the addition of this technology to the transformation of the larger retail ecosystem. So we always, of course, always talk about following the money. And, you know, a $250 billion problem, first of all, those savings aren't coming to us as consumers. They're going right to the bottom line of your favorite retailer. I don't know if like Amazon is getting in on this or e-commerce retailers, but that could be something very interesting as well. And you could end up with more than just that savings. So I'm going to open it up to all of you. Let me know what you think.
I'll just say that getting to that item level visibility that's huge, right? Because today I can simply say it wasn't in, you know, the 10 items, one wasn't in the box, right? And maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't, right? But I can say it today. It sounds like going forward, that will not be the case, because not only will they be able to tell me it was in the box, they'll probably be able to tell me it's sitting in your kitchen, right? Right?
Yeah, with the RFID chip,
in your
yes.
kitchen. I mean, because it's got GPS in it too, right? So they'll probably catch all kind of scammers.
Yeah.
You know, I just have to say one thing that I, you know, and we kind of covered this a little bit in our book club book, Real Business of Blockchain. And, you know, this to me kind of like ties into that when we start looking at tokenization and also linking the supply chain together with, you know, full-on automation, that I, you know, believe that this is going to even bring in more of just IoT, and, you know, we're you know, these devices will be there and they'll need to communicate with one another, transact with one another. And, you know, I think we've seen this over the past 5 months, the fragility of the global, of the supply chain itself, where, you know, now, you know, you go and you know, there's a product and you're going like, well, wait a minute, why is it back ordered? What's the problem? And they're going, well, I don't know. We're checking on it. We're not going to get any until with the truck coming in. Won't be until 3 or 4, you know, weeks or whatever the case is. And, you know, I just, you know, see blockchain is the glue, is the bridge, is a road that ties them all together and allows it to just really operate in real efficiency.
I'll say specifically, this is a deep dive, but I'll go try to make it very long in this sense, that from the aspect of the supply chain, it's always been a siloed system. It was built that way. People work, you know, they have their own ERPs, they have their own POS systems, which are their point of sales, their own enterprise retail. Everybody does it their own way, even though they have to logistically maneuver, and it's a commerce, so they have to share. But this is where we talked about in the Real Business of Blockchain that you don't want to share your information, but it's critical at this point to share your information, because at this point, I need to ensure that I get my money. So if I'm giving you a product, I need to make sure you're giving it. And this is where the drop shipping, the e-commerce, all of these things now become significantly more important, as well as customer experience. So not only are we putting, you know, planes, trains, and automobiles on play, people want it today. Like, I want it yesterday. I want it in 2 hours. You have that Amazon Prime. you have now have that expectation. So we've merged two very distinct things with siloed information. And the only way to build that bridge is through that infrastructure of blockchain. So now you have bits and pieces of information. Yep, I can share with you. This is interoperability. I don't have to integrate with you. I just need to get you what you need so that you make sure you get me my money on the other end of that. And also for waste purposes. We've talked about, you know, again, global waste is a big, big issue, specifically in the apparel industry. They are getting hammered at the G7 summit. They talked about that for hours on end. It's like, you waste all these materials, it's polluting the planet, you know, all these clothes are sitting somewhere, causing all this, you know, havoc, and there's all this craziness. This will prevent that from happening because there will be no surplus. There will be nothing to, at this point, you're using the accommodation of predictive analytics, which we talked about before, to know who and where and when to give your product out. You don't have to sit on inventory anymore. You can make it when you need it, and then you can resource it from the sources that are available to you. So again, if somebody falls out of the chain, you're like, cool, who's the next person up?
Right.
Now you have that ability to interoperable, right? You don't have to say, oh, I missed, my only supplier is in Tuscaloosa. Now it's like, who's next to me that can give me these things? And you have immediate access to them. So you're not delayed, your customer isn't delayed. So now you've created a full cycle of your customer experience as well as your commerce. And you've bridged that together very seamlessly with your own data. You don't have to do anything else. Just use the data that you already have. Just become a little more familiar with it, and then start to massage it and truly use it for your greater good to then give to your customer.
And think about how it's going to, I was going to say, think about the recall problem, right? And how like that goes away essentially, because you don't have to send out that postcard or post something in the paper. You can literally locate the person who has the item and get to them specifically. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the breakdown, like I think of truly in automobiles specifically, like some of the recalls are only after you hit a certain mileage or you use it for their point. It's like, if I have the demographic information on there, or your odometer, that you use this product only at this amount, maybe I don't contact you. Maybe I send you like, okay, we may need to replace it or something else. But I know that person who hit that 200,000 mile mark needs it today. Like they that sucker right now before any litigation happens. I'm sending your product proactively from a customer experience. I don't even know there's a problem. You've already sent me a replacement.
Right. Wow.
Like I said, you've delighted me when I didn't even know I had a problem.
So Talisha, I have a follow-up question for you, because you said something and I personally just don't quite understand it. So I understand that, you know, the retailer themselves is able to use their own data. But if all of the suppliers are putting their data out there, then isn't it also possible that you're able to replace that Tuscaloosa supplier with somebody else just because the data itself is out on the chain?
Well, no, because again, you're behind. It's off chain. Only the actual transaction is on chain. So that's what I'm saying. When I make that purchase order and then I say, okay, I need X amount of widgets. I go on the chain, it says, okay, these are the people who I make it with, that's it. But the minute that person says, ooh, I don't have it, I can recall that transaction. The transaction is not completed because they don't have it. I can pull it and say, hey, who's the next one up? I need this widget. And the data then becomes now it searches.
Well, that's what I was asking, because I was saying that there should be a way for you to search on chain as well to find out where else.
That's that level of the smart contract. So that
I'm glad you're mentioning that, because
where that says, okay, if I can't fulfill this, what's next? And see, that's the arbitrator of the chain. That's the person who controls that smart contract, who would say, okay, if this doesn't happen, what's my next recourse for this customer who is utilizing this chain? I need to populate the next person within that purview. Maybe it's 20 miles. I only show you who's 20 miles from you to get you that widget that you need. I'm not going to show you everybody. And then if you say, well, I don't want to do that, I need more, that's when you have to have that conversation. But that, again, that's interacting. And you're not, like I said, you're not just putting everything out there and then you're going to do this search, because you absolutely cannot do it that way, because you're, again, not seeing the browser. You're only seeing the level of transaction. But at that point, that smart contract is seeing all the resources that are available at that time to give you real-time information. And I think that's key for any business, is that when you could get real-time information at that granular level, that can change your whole business process in a minute. Think about, again, when somebody says, ooh, we needed toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a, like,
And can we get toilet paper from a Black manufacturer?
Like, you could have immediately changed the scope and proliferated that information very viably, like the things that just didn't seem right. Because again, there's warehouses, but the warehouses are siloed information. Truly, they're just like, we got it. We all know who needs it. They're just themselves hanging out, waiting for somebody to come and ask them for it. If they're in the loop, they could be, again, proactive. This is what we have. We're constantly letting you know this is what we have, and somebody linking you to your true kind of having that retail. Like, you are the internal and external customer at every given stage. So you flip back and forth immediately and seamlessly just by participating on the chain.
Right. So I have two more things to say. So the article itself did mention about the smart contracts, and I want to let everyone in our Simba chain group know that this is a huge opportunity. You could take this as something you're doing in terms of one of your projects within there, because there's going to be a lot of money in this aspect of it. The other thing is, this article started off as retail. However, I believe, and it probably is, going to transfer and translate into other aspects of supply chain as well. So we see it happening with Walmart and agriculture, all the way to Boeing and how they're getting their supplies in order to build aircrafts and everything in between. So smart contracts, I think, is going to be a $20+ billion I think it's billion or trillion. I have to find it again in the next few years. So those of you who are part of the Simba chain with Dr. Keisha, definitely stick to that. If you like it, stick to it. There's going to be a lot of opportunity, in terms of that. So the final thing that I will ask is about privacy concerns. So just like it's great that the RFID can tell me if my engine is about to blow, suppose I don't want people in my business like that. I don't want them to know that I got 2 bags of Cheetos at the at the store, or something else more scandalous. We always talk about this, especially Talisha always brings it up, about how this could hurt us, especially as a community of people. So I'm just curious for us to have. I don't have the answer. I just thought about it as.
I'll touch on that too, because I always say security is, just like I said, we talked about in the crypto aspect. You got to pay to play. So I always say, like, that there's going to have to be an exchange. You can't have everything. You can't get, immediate service without them knowing about you. That's the whole aspect of smart anything. It knows before you do. So if you don't want then that's when you opt out of everything. This is when the fine line and all the check boxes. If you want to use our service, but you don't want us to contact you, uncheck every single box. That's what's going to happen. We're going to move into a protocol where it is an opt-in, opt-out for everything, because it's going to be embedded. It has the ability and functionality. It can still do it. It just may not, you've opted out. So that information is still available. It just will not be utilized. So there'll be, we call that in healthcare broken glass, where it just kind of sits behind certain things and we only use it when necessary, or it just literally is siloed unto itself, where it's just, stored. So there are a lot of different things that, this will come into your security. If you want to participate, you got to pay to have that level of interaction and that response to your needs at that point. But if you don't, like I said, you can live on the island unto yourself, but these are the other things that are going around you. And at some point, like I said, you use the internet, when you use the blockchain, it's still going to ask those kind of things, but you do have that level of security with regard to the privacy, that private key, all of that information that'll also be encoded into that transaction. So again, even though they know it's only that transaction, that it's not a person who's going to really know that you had that 2 boxes of Cheetos. Nobody knows that. The blockchain has that information, and it's not going to, judge you. It's like, okay, she bought 2 bags of Cheetos, good for her. Nobody is going to be able, because it's going to be encrypted until they decrypt that information and get to that granular level that says you, Cherie. Again, because that's the other part of it. All the mechanisms are also going to be automated. So again, a singular person isn't looking at that information. The system is contacting you with regard to your replacement, to what you purchased, to how, the allocation. It's not really the customer service person is going to be the human, but all that information in the background is pretty much going to be done unless something blows up and then you have to speak to somebody on that phone. And all they're going to do is punch in the information you give them, and it's going to take over. So
I wonder if the technology will be transferable. And what I mean by that is, like when you buy something now and you get the registration card, right, to be the warranty, or if it breaks or something like that. Like I think about, because we talk about security, but I think about how from a security standpoint, this could help us. So think about burglaries, right? If there's something embedded in that item, like the TV or the laptop, the typical things people break in your house and steal, right? Your pharmaceuticals, right? Because that's a big thing. They steal your medicine cabinet stuff. If there's something built into that packaging or to that item that could continue to be traceable, because what we're talking about is for the retail's purposes, they're tracking it, right? But what can I do as a consumer to continue the tracking or the safekeeping of that information in the event I ever need to now track this same item for myself?
That's a business. So what happens now, that person who wants disaster recovery, theft recovery, they're going to now utilize the blockchain and say, hey, can I borrow that data? And they're going to give you a protection plan for $29.95. I can recover anything that's lost in your house.
Wow.
That's what's going to happen.
Look, I just pulled a Cherie and gave a business idea.
You beat me to it.
That's a business.
And what? I was thinking about that person in the hood. That's like, look, if something happens, you call me. I get your stuff back.
That's your insurance on your lost item, and you're gonna keep paying the $29.95, and maybe it's okay. You threw that thing away. It's like I'm still paying for that other thing, and it's not stolen. They be like, "Do you know your thing? I threw it in the garbage." Yes, I did. I threw it away.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I want to feed into this and talk just for a second about the 10K project, and I do have a point here. So one of the things, we hired an economist, and we talk with him every week about how we are able to shore up the supply chain for Black companies. And one of the things that came up was this thought of how do we create. So take a step back. The person that we hired is a professor at an HBCU, and he's also going into the PhD program at an HBCU. And he was talking about incubators and these HBCUs and how they kind of all get around and they talk about different business ideas. And also how, you have MIT and you have Stanford and you have these ideation hubs that are out there. And I think what we did tonight was a version of that, because I was talking to him about transferring these things from the Black community. We won't necessarily all be in the same city, but if we're able to have these ideation Zoom hubs or whatever, and then finding the next several billion-dollar ideas and several unicorns, like just what happened now, just because we talked about an article and it built all the way up to, hey, somebody may need that, and being able to see, 10 years down the road. I think that this is important, and I'm just throwing it out there. that I think that this is going to be the wave of the future, especially in our community, is being able to create these virtual ideation centers.
No, you know what, Sheree, can I kind of say, that's the power of decentralization too. That there's not one place that you go to. We all kind of come together, and then it all comes from the ground up instead of just funneling from the top down. Yes, I think that you are onto something again.
Yeah. Well, also because we had the conversation when we first started, he said, you know, the graduate students, and I said, yeah, but that guy, you know, on the corner in the hood could be like the person. You bring them together with the graduate students and other people, and all of a sudden you've got this powerhouse of ideation in the community. So with decentralization, what Eric is saying, you've kind of broken down the barriers of income, for example, or of access, you know, in such a way that now you have the ability to, again, kind of create these ideas. So I think that that's very important within BBC as well. I know that some of you have already started businesses with other people and things like that. Having these types of conversations, just starting with an article and an idea and having people get together, you know, and that's how billion-dollar ideas are created. You know, you think about something and then act on it. Really, is it?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yes. Well, I usually have like 5 or 6 articles, but tonight I didn't. I just had the one. I want to overdo it. So I will go, you know, around the table here and let everyone have any kind of final comments that you have, and then, you know, we may take off a couple of minutes early. So Eric, you want to start?
No, I was going to say, you know, this is a great time to be in blockchain, in crypto. I do believe going forward, you know, and we kind of talked about it too before about the virus itself being an accelerant for things. And I just believe that that's happened. And, you know, we talked about kind of like the time frame of adoption. And listen, no one has a crystal ball, so no one knows. But I kind of believe that things are going to happen a lot quicker, especially with blockchain adoption, than what we previously thought, even a couple years ago. For everyone watching this who's involved in some way, some format, it's like you're in the right space at the right time. You really are.
Tawana?
Yeah, you know, we keep seeing the use cases, right? And we've said when the use cases come and they're, you know, everyday use cases, then we're one step closer to mass adoption. And, you know, maybe mass adoption doesn't look like the whole world, right? Maybe it looks like a couple of million people adopting it to begin with, but it's not far off. I mean, like Eric said, we're in the right place. You know, for the first time, I truly don't feel like I am going to be left behind on this one. Like for the first time, I feel like I'm there, I'm in there, I understand it. And, you know, that's an amazing feeling, right? That we don't have to worry about, you know, 2 years down the line, just learning about something and all the money's already made, right? Because we know how that goes. So, you know, the direction Cherie's been giving about picking your major and find your niche and just continuing to educate ourselves in this space, you know, that's priceless information. And, you know, the fact that she created this space for us to learn and to grow in this industry is a blessing. And so thank you again for having the wherewithal to say, hey, you want to get together and talk about it? And then for all of us being obedient, right? And saying, sure, right? So it took all of us to do this, but that's really how it happened. She had this amazing idea to get together and really talk about blockchain. And here we all did follow, you know, and we're better for it. So thank you.
I don't know, y'all are crazy.
Well, we're crazy too. We're better for it.
Talisha?
That part is true. I think this is a great example of what we talk about. I always say, like, sometimes we need vocational reinforcement, but going back to the crypto, I think, again, people were always saying how convoluted it is to start a wallet. that's usually the barrier of entry was that wallet. Like, how do I do that? How many people know how to go to a domain name? How simple it is just to type whatever, and now we've been trained because we've gone through the .com boom where everything is like .net. So now people are even more sophisticated and say, well, what's the extension? Grandma even said, is it a .net? What is it? Is it a .edu or .org? Like, they know, people know what those extensions mean. How they work in the back end, nobody cares. We're not going to worry about that tech. But that entry, that obstacle of creating a wallet and sending money has now just one big barrier has just been totally annihilated with just a simple name registration. Now that you can identify who I'm sending to, it's like Bertha's Beauty Star .crypto. I know I'm sending it to Bertha. I know this. And that's all I needed. I didn't know before, but now I do. That right there shows you where we are. If that's just one thing that you can take away from that, is that when you see the pillars start to crumble, you know where you are, you know where you're going. You're seeing it change because it's changing right in front of your eyes. So like I say, you can't remember back when it was all that before, and maybe you don't even have a wallet now. That's perfectly fine. Now you can get a wallet, because now you can have your public key be whatever you want, and it's it's yourself. So I think that's the best part about what happened today and where you are in the midst. So that's where you're meeting the tech where it stands right now.
Absolutely. And all of you are ahead of the curve. So I especially want to give a shout out to Jeffrey Mills and Victoria Walker, who completed their homework. They bought their domains, their .crypto domains. So I am so proud of you. I will also say, we have Chain and the smart contracts, and I'm so proud of the work that the team is doing with that. But I would love to see us have a group around the tokenization. And I know that there's another major, I'm having like brain, farts right now with regards to, there's tokenization, there's smart contracts, and there's a third area of blockchain that's going to be really big. Eric, you're laughing like you know
I'm
it.
laughing because Jeffrey said, I'm laughing because
Jeffrey said, send some love. He was like,
send some love.
Well, actually, show me the money.
So Jeffrey, I'm gonna pull your referral link, Jeffrey, and I don't know. I got to look at the $19 versus the $40 link, $40 savings, but yeah, we'll send you some love, Jeffrey. We may use your referral link there. But going back, smart contracts is going to be huge, and I believe that the way that we train is what we're doing with Chain, and having like real life usage of it and creating a portfolio. I'd love to see people do that around tokenization as well, because that's going to be a huge industry. A lot of people are going to be making money from this crypto thing, that we talked about tonight, and from the smart contracts and from the tokenization. So yeah, there's a lot of money to be made. Just pick a major, pick a niche. And then the other thing is, don't forget, just put it in your calendar for now, February 19th and 20th, Los Angeles. February 19th and 20th, 2021, Los Angeles. Naja Roberts has opened up her location to us. And as long as COVID is, I don't know, flatlined or whatever it's supposed to do, by that point we'll be there.
It's dead. It's dead.
I don't like that analogy at all. I'm not that live.
I don't know the terminology for it. As long as it's then
pulling the plug on it and everything.
Then we will be in Los Angeles, but we're not selling tickets or anything right now. It's just put it in your calendar and let's see what happens with this. So definitely want to make sure you do that. I thought today was great, very useful information, very useful data. And anything else before we head out?
I would say if you buy all the crypto domains, you can actually have them pay you when the people come for them in crypto. Keep that in mind also.
They will come for them.
But you got the
Exactly.
address.
So yes.
And
So
you may
that's
want
why I
it
said some
Bitcoin. You may
some
want it-
people gonna
you
some
may-
people gonna make this a business, and I suggest somebody in here make it a business. You
I'm
know.
gonna be
That
a
is
real
right.
late buying domains. Let's just
Mhm.
say
What's
that.
that?
Mhm.
That
What
is
am
right.
I trying to do?
Just don't buy mine.
No. I won't do
You
you
can
like
always
that.
negotiate.
Won't do you like that.
Show the love. Show me
But
the
if
love.
McDonald's ain't taken yet,
Mhm. You know what? I have to say, Tawana, I believe McDonald's will. If McDonald's isn't taken, I'll be shocked.
They haven't learned their lesson.
well,
Maybe
Jeffrey's
Oh,
probably
man.
taking it right now.
McDonald's, Burger King, Panera, Chick-fil-A, get on it.
And Jeffrey said, "Yep."
Yeah, get on it. Chick-fil-A is all good for you. Typing that in. It's
Yes.
hyphens and everything. Make sure
Yes, yes. So,
that's
all righty then. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. God bless you. Have a great week. We will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.